Yosef ben Matityahu, also known by his Roman name Josephus Flavius, describes four gates in the western wall of the Temple Mount in the days of the Second Temple. In his book, The Antiquities of the Jews, he wrote as follows: in the western part of the wall stood four gates, ones that faced the king's palace through the valley in the middle that was crossed, two to the suburb, and the last gate to the rest of the city. And indeed, there is evidence of the existence of four gates. Two of them are located above the interchanges of Robinson Arch and Wilson Arch. The other two are Barclay's Gate and Warren Gate, and each of them has a dedicated video in Historical Site in Israel YouTube channel. The two interchanges gates, Robinson and Wilson, were gates through which the public entered the Temple Mount complex, but without access from there to the area that was sacred according to the Halakha. Without going into details, the Halakha is a collective of Jewish religious laws. Those entering via Robinson Interchange Gate could reach public institutions located on the Temple Mount. Those who came to these institutions and then wanted to visit the temple area had to go out and enter again through the gates intended for that. Actually, the gate of Robinson's Arch led to the royal stoa, which was intended for public use and was not part of the temple plaza. Jews and Gentiles could visit the royal stoa. It is worth remembering that Herod himself was not allowed to enter the temple area, so he invested a lot of resources in the construction of the royal stoa, which at the time was considered one of the most impressive buildings in the world. What was the royal stoa used for? So Herod was known for his colossal building projects, and he wanted to impress the many visitors from all over the country and the Roman Empire. This is how Yosef ben Matityahu described the royal stoa, and I quote, "It was the enterprise worth telling about more than anything else that was under the sun." The royal stoa served a few public functions, such as a public civil courts. Also included there was a prestigious market compared to other markets and trading areas. A market where one can find almost everything, including currency exchangers who catered to visitors from outside Israel, but not only. Since Gentiles could not enter the temple, the royal stoa was a place where they could rest, hang out, and admire the amazing buildings and great splendor. The row of stones protruding from the wall, this is remnant of a huge vault that came out of the western wall and rested on a huge stone-based structure on the other side of the street at a distance of about 13 meters from the western wall. The archway was first identified by the archaeologist Edward Robinson in 1838, who thought it was the beginning of an arched bridge that connected the Temple Mount and the upper city. The upper city was located on the hill west of the Temple Mount. Yet, as soon as additional arch bases were discovered that faced south instead of west, it turned out that it was not a bridge, but a system of arches that descends to the street level, and this happened during the Second Temple period. The traffic on the vault steps did not interfere with the cross traffic of the pedestrians on the street where I am, and thus it turned out to be one of the first interchanges in the world. The base of the interchange was a huge square structure that incorporated spaces that were used for shops. Weights and coins were found there, as well as a stone stand with the inscription, "A sacrifice," engraved on it. I'm walking on the streets from Herod's dynasty period, and in front of me I see rock falls from the time it was destroyed in the year 70 by the Romans. This street is part of a set of wide streets that surrounded the Temple Mount complex and included markets, shops and squares. If you visited the wall tunnel, then you walked on these streets few hundreds meters to the north. This was the main street at the foot of the Temple Mount along the western wall. The street width was 10 meters, bordered on both sides by curbstones. The arch started at the western wall. Its height reached 17.5 meters, equivalent to 6-story buildings. The height of the base structure was approximately 11 meters, and above it a height of another 6.5 meters, which is the radius of the arch. The total length of the arch is 15.2 meters over 13 meters in a straight line, and the width of its paved street was 3.6 meters. It was one of the largest arches in the world at that time. Thousands of those visiting the Holy City walked and made their shopping along this road. The price per square meter of land in this area was probably one of the highest in Jerusalem, which was also a very expensive city. No difference than today. Therefore, we should not be surprised that the huge base structure holding Robinson Arch was used as a real estate so that 4 stores, actually I'm in one of them, were built into it, where coins, storage vessels and weight stones were found there. Imagine a lively street with everything along it: perfume shops, spices, restaurants, clothing stores, food vendors and money changers. This was no doubt the glittering trade and tourism center of Jerusalem. According to Yosef ben Matityahu, the construction work continued here until the time of King Agrippa II, Herod's great-grandson. The archaeological findings support this. Near the interchange, coins minted after Herod's death were found, which emphasizes that the extraordinary scale of construction that occurred in this site. Construction continued for decades after Herod began the work. And to conclude, as usual, I have a question for you. Who was the head of the Roman army at the time the Romans destroyed Robinson Arch? The answer will appear in 5 seconds.